Our mission belongs to God. We are invited to join with God and to be partners in God's mission. And here's the most important thing about being invited to partner with God. God does the heavy lifting. We each have a part to play. We each are called to share in this mission, but we are not supposed to carry the full weight on our shoulders. That is God's work. Jesus shows us the way to focus on what is most needed. And Jesus promises that what we focus on will grow. That's the promise at the heart of the harvest. That is the gift of God's abundance, the leaven in the loaf, the pearl of great price, the 12 baskets left over, the great catch of fish. What we focus on will grow.
The Diocese of North Carolina is focused. Our focus is on what we can do together, our congregations, our ministries, diocesan staff, and the Episcopal Church itself. Together, each of us is free to contribute in the ways that call to us, with those contributions transforming into a collective impact that is our journey to becoming beloved community. The budget of the Diocese of North Carolina is a key, centralized support system of that journey. It provides those it serves with the resources they need to do their work and realize the visions of their focus. As each area of work progresses, it expands and intersects with the work of others, creating a ripple effect that moves from individuals to congregations to communities and to the wider world. The proposed 2023 budget looks much like it did last year. Diocesan Council and diocesan staff have worked hard to be good stewards of our financial resources, providing those we serve with what they need while ensuring the long-term health of the diocese. As always, the proposed budget is organized around a standard set of departments and categories. Even though this year's budget focuses on the new diocesan mission strategy, for accounting purposes, most budget line items have not changed. The operating income is comprised of the fair share contributions of our congregations, which represent about 74% of our income. The fair share rate for 2023 is 10.65%, net all funds received through the PPP program during the pandemic. It was important that forgiven PPP funds were not included in the fair share calculation, so that churches were able to use this support on the local level. It is also important to remember that the canonical minimum for our fair share rate is 10%. The diocese budgeted fair share rate to the Episcopal Church remains unchanged at 15%. Also included in our operating income is program revenue, representing 3% of income, endowment funding, representing 16% of income, and release of restricted reserves, representing 7% of income. On the spending side, the budget remains organized around the categories of oversight, governance, administration, congregational vitality, lifelong formation, missional collaboratives, and creation care. When we look at the budget as it is organized, it looks like this. This is what we compare year to year and what provides consistent looks at the stewardship of diocesan financial resources. But even though the budget is organized around these categories for consistency and reporting purposes, it is built around our diocesan mission priorities: racial reckoning, justice and healing, congregational vitality, collaboration in new communities, formation, and creation care. These priorities are at the heart of who we are and the work we do. They are our focus. So to understand what the budget really represents in terms of resources dedicated to our mission, let's look at the budget again in terms of our mission priorities. We start with the budget component that works with every other. We'll call it the comprehensive administrative component. which is composed of two pieces, governance and operations. Governance is comprised of our bishops, including their salaries and benefits, as well as the cost of their travel and their executive assistants. These executive assistants work very closely with the three governing bodies, the Standing Committee, Trustees, and Diocesan Council, who make the operational decisions for the diocese. They are charged with making sure the diocese complies with canons and constitutions, with administering annual convention, and with oversight of the Commission on Ministry and other ministries like retired clergy and history and archives. Governance also includes our fair share obligations to the Episcopal Church and to Province 4. This section, governance, represents 30% of the budget. Operations includes the Office of Finance, the communications team, and expenses related to the diocesan house building. All of this represents about 16% of the budget, yet it affects every other area of the budget. Those included in the operations category are not primarily focused on any one area of the mission strategy, but rather work with all of them, providing resources and support. When you look at governance and operations together as the comprehensive administrative component of the budget, it is critical to remember that these do not stand outside the mission priority areas because they work with all of the mission priority areas. Everything that goes under governance and operations is measured by how it contributes to our diocesan priorities. The racial reckoning, justice, and healing priority comprises about 8% of the budget. The purpose statement of this priority is to research and/or revisit the history of your church from its founding to today, paying special attention to the circumstances, episodes, and experiences regarding the participation of Black, Brown, and Indigenous peoples in the life of the church and surrounding community, and to learn from that history to develop and implement concrete steps toward diversity, equity, and inclusion.
We profoundly believe that in order for us to become the beloved community of God, we must include everyone, leaving absolutely no one behind. The Jesus movement teaches us that our history informs our past, but we need not be shackled to past practices that included some and excluded others. We envision a community in which we are all there together, worshiping God and living out the full mission of the church. It is an inflection point, and it is a conversation, it is a strategy that is going to intersect with all of the other mission strategies, because everywhere, at every turn, you're going to see how racial reconciliation and social justice impacts the work that is being done, the work that must be done, that needs to be done by the other mission strategies. All of us will have to work together to make all of these mission strategies a reality.
The budget currently supports the work of our Missioner for Black Ministries and our Missioner for Latino Hispanic Ministries. In 2023, it will also include the work of a new restitution officer who will assist with the historical research around the diocese's own racial past, the reckoning of that past, and what restitution might look like as we move forward. The restitution officer will be a new position, but not an addition to the budget, as it will be made possible through reallocated funds, not additional spending. Congregational vitality represents about 15% of budget resources. The purpose of this priority is to walk with and support our parishes and missions, and thereby to ensure that every church and ministry is equipped and connected, creating a strong foundation from which to offer their gifts to the wider world. We recognize there is vitality present and ready to be tapped in all congregations, regardless of size or location. We also know that none of the priorities will be accomplished in this diocese without active, energetic congregations.
This priority concentrates on providing resources for all congregations across the diocese to become vibrant and thriving communities of faith. To that end, we have trained staff and volunteers to assist with congregational assessment, vestry retreats and trainings, conflict resolution and mediation, stewardship programs, mutual ministry reviews, lifelong formation, and youth ministries. It is our assumption that all strategies will be undertaken in partnership with the congregations, allowing them to be the experts in finding their own source of energy and vitality.
This priority is as important as any other, for the work we do as a diocese begins and has its heart in our congregations. The congregational vitality component of our budget provides clergy support, deacon formation, and mission church assistance. Congregations are not alone on their journeys, as our regional canons, our canon for transition and pastoral ministry, and the newly created canon to the bishop, which, like the restitution officer, was created by shifting existing staff roles, will walk alongside them every day. In fact, each church in the diocese has a direct contact person they can call when needed.
One of the challenges that Bishop Curry laid out for us in embracing the Jesus movement is how to take a church that is focused on institutional organization and move it into a missional mindset. And what we've been about these past few years is building a mission strategy and direction alongside the traditional organization and structure of the diocese. At this important stage in our life together, we are moving the energy from one to the other so that we still have the strength and the infrastructure of an organization, but we also have the energy and movement that propels us to our mission. So as we make this move, as we shift from who we are as an institution to who we're becoming as a missionally focused organization, we need some help. And the help comes in the form of shifting some existing staff roles, but also adding one new position, which is the Mission Strategy Coordinator. This allocation does create the opportunity for us to move the energy in the organization to our missional focus. It is a time-certain 4 to 5 year position. It's been fully endorsed by Diocesan Council. So the growth of the budget is really only one new position, but the way that we've reconfigured the staff will energize us for the work ahead.
The collaboration and new communities priority represents about 13% of the 2023 budget. Its purpose is to encourage and support collaborative work through education and resources, facilitating the creation and sustainability of new and older partnerships, networks, ministries, and communities.
Collaboration and new communities are both essential to our call of becoming beloved community. When we collaborate well, we're in fact building beloved community in the process. And collaboration is also essential to the work that we're called to do as disciples, making disciples. When we reach out to share God's love and build new communities that reflect that love. And they can be many different types. They could be church plants. They could be collaborations of congregations. They could be spiritually grounded service organizations, or they could be hybrid, or they could be something entirely new.
The existing collaborations are myriad and diverse. There's our relationship with the Episcopal Church, with Province 4 partners, and with companion dioceses in Costa Rica and Botswana. There are partnership ministries, such as the Episcopal Farm Worker Ministry. There are service ministries, such as Galilee Ministries of East Charlotte and Abundant Life in Greensboro. There are also thriving church plants, such as Christ's Beloved Community. And global missions relationships have an impact that reaches far beyond our diocesan borders. The formation priority represents 18% of our missional budget. Its purpose statement states that as we seek to form disciples of Jesus, we engage the work of lifelong Christian formation because we believe God calls us to join in God's transformative work in the world, manifesting the beloved community through a deeper spiritual connection to all of God's creation.
Formation is at the heart of what we do as our walk as a Christian, walking towards the beloved community. Formation is about Bible studies, it's about learning, it's about community. And in everything that we do, we are seeking to transform, to become more like Christ every day. We are changing and molding, and programs and offerings are the way that we do that. And our focus is on formation. So much of what we do is formation.
The formation component of the budget supports the work of those who make formation happen, including our missioner for adult and lifelong formation, our youth department, which includes our lead youth missioner, assistant youth missioner, and children and family missioner, our campus and young adult missioners, and the Christian Education and Formation Charter Committee. Together, they have created and made available for all ages offerings such as Introduction to Dismantling Racism, Sacred Ground, Bible studies, book reads, the All Saints Club, the Green and Growing Club, youth events such as Bishop's Ball and Hugs Camp, just to name a few. The work of formation intersects with the work of other priority areas and expands far beyond the diocesan positions the budget funds, as people who attend the formation offerings become teachers, young leaders become adult leaders, and all of us are given the opportunity to deepen our faith and our understanding of how that faith is foundational to how we live our lives. The creation care priority encompasses only a small percentage of the budget, but its importance and work reaches far beyond what is reflected in the budget. The purpose of the creation care priority is to educate and encourage new actions and thought processes so that creation care, namely thought processes and actions that benefit the earth and its inhabitants rather than harm them, becomes a way of life, embodying our Christian call to love God and neighbor.
But really, creation care is at the heart of who we are as Christians. Our foundational texts connect us to the goodness of creation. Our sacramental worship connects us to God's grace working through the material substances of bread and wine and water. And so we recognize that a healthy creation is necessary and is necessary to protect us. God's good creation is one of our priorities as Christians, and therefore we see this as a primary theological goal and one that needs to be lived out in various ways through our creation care ministries.
The funding in the budget for creation care primarily supports the work of the Chartered Committee on Environmental Ministry, which uses those funds to provide small grants to churches seeking to make eco-friendly changes in their congregational lives. But the committee's work goes deeper than what is reflected by its current funding needs. The committee has provided education on solar energy opportunities, helping churches to navigate that process when needed and lifting up those who complete it, and have helped churches connect with organizations to complete energy audits and discern ways to shrink their carbon footprints. The committee provides weekly green tips, giving every person who wants to ways in which they can make small changes that collectively make a great impact. Members of the committee have written legislation now in the North Carolina General Assembly and have provided advocacy opportunities in which we can all take part. The work happening in the area of creation care is as fundamentally important as any other mission priority. And as the ministry's budgetary needs grow, so will the financial support it receives. Lest there be any doubt about the importance of our creation care priority, it will be the focus and theme of the 207th Annual Convention taking place this November. Outside of funding in the diocesan budget, the North Carolina Church Foundation supports creation care and offers green grants that fund energy-saving projects for churches throughout the diocese. Since its inception, the program has funded more than $150,000 in grants. When you look at it in full, you see that the 2023 budget truly aligns with the priorities we hold dear and that serve as guideposts on our journey to becoming beloved community. Though we've taken a look at how the budget reflects the individual priorities, it's important to remember that no one of these priorities acts alone or exists in a vacuum.
Mission strategy is an iterative process, one in which the congregations and ministries of the diocese move in different but also interconnected ways. As we move through the work, there will be changes, learnings, adjustments. We will have to think about how the work and wisdom in one place is shared with other parts of the diocese. At the same time, how will the capacity building resources at diocesan level be leveraged to the greatest benefit in all the different parts of the diocese? We may be one in the Lord, but there is no one size fits all in our mission strategy process or plan. We'll move at our own pace, in tune with our local context, yet part of a greater whole.
The pace of the diocese will remain strong and steady in 2023. Beyond what's been shared throughout the presentation, grant support offered through the diocese continues to be another valuable resource for congregations. The mission funders, including the North Carolina Episcopal Church Foundation, Mission Endowment, Good Samaritan, Parish Grants, and Missionary Resource Support Team, have collaborated to rethink how best to use their resources collectively to create a fund that supports mission initiatives of historically Black, Hispanic, new, and low-income worshiping communities. The mission funders distributed funds in 2022 and are currently conducting 2023 funding reviews as they continue to build the committee's operating infrastructure and bylaws. In 2022, funds approved by Diocesan Council to be distributed by this Sustainability Committee were up to $611,600, and in 2023 are up to $660,000. The diocese also recently announced its decision to list for sale the Diocesan House building at 200 West Morgan Street in Raleigh. It was a decision made after more than 3 years of deep discernment by the task force charged with exploring every option related to the building. Two key factors in the decision were the rapidly changing landscape of commercial development in downtown Raleigh and the realization during the pandemic that diocesan staff were able to continue serving our church in every way, even without a central office. It was clear the best option for the diocese is to sell the building, to be able to fulfill the desire both for long-term stability and for the ability to do ministry. The building was listed in early September with the hope of completing the sale during the first half of 2023. The diocese expects to maintain its headquarters in Raleigh, and while the next location is not yet decided, it will continue to be a place of welcome and a reflection of our commitment to our missional priorities. As we heard Bishop Sam say at the start, Jesus shows us the way to focus on what is most needed. What we focus on will grow. The Diocese of North Carolina is focused. What will we grow together?